Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Dylan Talks Tone. Just going to say a podcast. It is Tuesday afternoon. And I know we're a little bit early, but I'll explain why in just a minute. Welcome to the Dylan Talks Tone podcast. This is where we talk about whatever I want to talk about or whatever you want to talk about. And we'll just flush those conversations out a little bit. We'll go for about an hour, and then we will move on to the next thing for the day. We'll get into that in just a minute. Please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button and the like button if you like guitar stuff, because that's what we do here. And yeah, so I know that for those of you that don't know, we don't have a whole lot of sponsors and whatnot. We don't sponsor ball sack shavers or any kind of man soap or anything like that. So please do me a favor and check out patreon.com/DylanTalksTone for some bonus content and some hangouts and some other stuff like such, or if you just want to support us. The other thing you can do, obviously, is go to Dylan Talks Tone and buy pickups, because that's what we really do here. YouTube does not support my family, but the pickups do. So thank you so much for all of that stuff. You can check that stuff out, and there you go. So I have more teeth appointments. So yesterday, you probably saw the video yesterday. I shot that on Sunday, knowing that I was going to have a root canal on Monday. I went to the root canal doctor on time at 11 o'clock in the morning, and he did a bunch of tests, and I didn't need a root canal, which is really cool. But there's also some other problems that need to be addressed, and so I'm referred back to another doctor, and I've got to be there at 4:20. Oh, interesting, 4:20 today. And so that was like, well, I don't want to skip the podcast, so we're just going to kick it up a couple hours so that we can do it, and then I've got a bunch of stuff to do tonight. Winding pickups this morning, soldering humbuckers together, just kind of all of the things. Because let me tell you, this whole tooth thing has cost me, I don't know how many days of work now. It's driving me friggin' insane. So, yeah, I've spent more time going to tooth doctors in the last week than I have working, which really sucks. So we're trying to stay caught up, which we pretty much are. I think we're doing pretty well on that deal. So, welcome. If you have guitar questions, put them in the chat, and I will try to see them. Put a bunch of question marks in front of them. If you want me to answer them right away, I'll drop what I'm doing and do that. If you use a super chat, we will discuss those immediately. The thumbnail for today is, I don't know what I'm talking about. Not because I don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't really know what I'm talking about today. I have nothing. I feel like everything's kind of been a bit uneventful, and we've been very preoccupied with A, teeth, and B, just making pickups, because anytime we do one of these Colorado trips, then there's like some catch up after that. So we have just really had our heads down dealing with whatever we're dealing with to get all this stuff done and keep all of you happy, except that one guy that I had to refund because he was impatient. But other than that, it's cool. We're busy. We're really busy, actually. Selling stuff every day, making stuff every day, and trying to keep our heads above water with everything cruising. Yeah, so that is what the deal is. And my phone keeps blowing up. Turn that thing off. Okay. And we got a super chat from Brian Duncan. Hang on one second. Let me grab that there super chat. And looks like there's some questions in there. Commiserating. I have a dentist appointment tomorrow at 7 a.m. Thank you for the $50 there, Brian. I appreciate that very much. Thank you for the super chat. And yeah, dentist stuff sucks. And what really happened with it is it turned into other stuff. And then it wasn't. It was one of those, we think you need a root canal. You might lose this tooth. No, you don't. Go to this other doc. So I've been in waiting rooms. And my peeve of all time is this. If you make me fill out the stuff on the app or from the text message before I get there, do not make me fill it out on another piece of paper again when I get there. Like, I just typed all this stuff in my phone and I sent it to you. Do not make me fill it out again. Drives me friggin' insane. So I have, health insurance group number. I don't think I have it quite memorized, but maybe by the end of the week I will, because I've filled in this crap so many times. It's just been a bunch of crap. Anyway, so kind of funny. Trying to find the fun in it. Slacker Deluxe, what's going on there, Doug? Dylan, is the tone from a piezo pickup as location dependent as a magnetic pickup? Is there any value in having more than one piezo pickup on a guitar? So, a magnetic pickup and a piezo pickup do two different things. A magnetic pickup, obviously, is a transducer that, well, they're both transducers, but they do it differently. A magnetic pickup is going to pick up wherever in the scale length, right? A piezo only picks up vibration. So the way a piezo works is it is a crystal. This is so woo-woo, but it is actually true. This is how it works. It's kind of cool. It's a crystal that when it vibrates, it creates a voltage. So it's in this braided thing. You put it in the guitar. When the bridge vibrates, that vibration then creates an electrical signal at a particular frequency. So the couple different kinds, like a K and K, for example, are, around the top of the guitar. They got like three of them, and it kind of goes across the bridge. Or then you have the braided ones that go underneath the saddle, but they're sensing vibration. So what you're trying to do is get the actual vibration, the best parts of the vibration of the guitar. This is another example of why electric guitars and acoustic guitars are two different things and cannot be talked about in the same sentence. They're location dependent for two completely different reasons, because you don't care about what the body is doing, contrary to what all the tone berserk people want to tell you. With a magnetic pickup, you care where it is along the length of the string, not because of vibration, but because you don't want it to be on like an anti-node and have a dead spot in the string for when it's open, but then that moves around when you finger. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff there, but the placement within the strings is different. It's almost like trying to put a pickup on a drum head. That's sort of, or like mic placement on a drum head is very, very similar to what you would do with a piezo. I guess that's the thing. It's kind of neat, actually. It's neat the way piezos work. It's also kind of why they're not the best, because they're a bit limited in how they work. Oh, what's with the reverb? Dang it, I did it again. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you. We have fixed it. We have fixed it. Sorry about that. Did it again. Let's see. I had two microphones on at the same time. I apologize. I did it again. I did it a couple weeks ago. It's a quartz watch in reverse. Kind of. Except that a quartz watch, when you add a voltage to it, well, I guess that is. Because a quartz watch, when you add a voltage to it, the quartz vibrates at a particular frequency, but it's constant, which is what gives you the time. Yeah, pretty neato. Somebody asked a question way back at the beginning here. Let me see if I can find it. There was some question up here. I can't find it again. Oh, Dylan, where do your P90s fall compared to other custom wines? They're better. Duh. Um, no, to tell you the truth, we basically modeled our P90s after Greg Martin from the Kentucky Headhunters. He had a 56 Les Paul Jr. Buddy of mine bought it from him, and we used that kind of as our tone for that thing. So it's super like a vintage Les Paul Jr. P90. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Checking in with everybody. So yeah, that's generally what we got going. We're making pickups. So if you guys have questions, get in there. Because like I said, it has been a weird couple days. Trying to think. Oh, what else we have? Let's see. Wiring diagrams. On wiring diagrams, the two finished wire of a humbucker go together for splits or not, and starts are hot and ground. Correct. Can't I put starts together and use the other two as hot and ground and get the same result? You can, but it becomes a different series. And so it doesn't work. No, it won't work. Use the finishes. And put the starts. It has to do with the phasing. I don't have an answer for you right now. I've done this. I've messed with it. But to tell you, this is so stupid. This is one of those things where this is a thing that I don't care about, so I don't commit it to memory, and I can't remember why it doesn't work, and if it does sort of work, why it's not optimal. I can't remember because it's one of those dumb things where I just once I know it, I know it, and I don't care. Yeah. Oh, here's a good question. 2J, there's a gnat in here. Let's see. 2J, let's see. Oh. Yeah, let's get to this, Chris. I am still curious on your opinion on damn it. It's a gnat. I am curious on your opinion on Rick Turner and his Model 1 and the pickups in it. I don't care. Rick Turner's a dick. All there is to it. And I know he's dead, RIP, whatever. I don't care. He is. He was an absolute ass. To anybody, including me, who felt differently than him about stuff. And I know that you should have respect for people who, I don't care if you're old and you're he's one of those people that was like, I'm old, so you should respect me. I know more than you, so you should respect me. And I don't have to have respect for you because you're younger than me. And you know what? People like that can pound sand. I don't care. Just because you're old doesn't make you right. Just because you're old doesn't make you respectable. Like, I will respect you. I will respect anybody. I will respect a 5-year-old who knows nothing if they are respectable. He did not garner that from me to the point where I was like, I cannot even converse with you. I cannot tell you how much I dislike that person. And if you could count the amount of times on this channel that I've ever said that about a human being, this might be one. This might be the first time I've ever said that. I cannot, could not, will not, cannot. I do not like that guy. Doug, I'm working on an under the pick guard thing. Let's see. Hey, Dylan, if someone wanted to try one of your humbuckers and said their favorite aftermarket pickup was a Seymour Duncan JB, which pickup would you suggest for them? Center punch all the way. When we replace pickups in a guitar, 90%, for a long time anyway, not so much anymore, but I would say 5 years ago, 90% of the people that were replacing pickups wanted more clarity and more dynamics out of a JB and a Jazz, and they would put our center punch in their 8-ball in there. So I would say put our center punches in place of your JB, and you will really like that. That's and there's probably some people in the comments who have done this. Actually, it's really a popular swap. Yes, for sure. When wax potting, isn't there a chance of the hot wax damaging the bobbins? Yep, if you leave it in there too long. I usually wax pot at about 145 degrees. If you get above about 155, ABS starts to get a little soft, so you got to really be careful with that, actually. Yeah, for sure. Seymour Duncan does have the those under pick guard things. We are working on one. I need to play with it some more. I'm building another telly soon, and so that's something that I really want to check out. But yeah, check out those Seymour Duncan ones because they definitely do have them down. Yeah, pretty cool. I'm trying to think of what else is going on here. Like I said, I literally didn't have a whole lot. So yeah, hit me with questions. Um, you guys are making up a would you like him here or there? Would you like him in a chair? I don't even care. Hey, that rhymes too. How about that? Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things like I don't know. I'm this is kind of just my personality anyway. Like I don't have opinions about people. Um typically. Like I just don't make an opinion about a person until they give me a reason to have one. And you don't just do that once. If you say something mean to me today, I'm not going to form an opinion about it and then judge you on that for the rest of your life. I'm just not that person because I've had people do that to me. I've gone through life changes and I've gone through things. For example, you get a divorce, you find out who your friends are. You know what I mean? Or you find out who your friends are not anymore. So those sorts of things have happened to me. So I'm just like, I don't just form an opinion about somebody over a thing that happened one time. But if you are repeatedly a kind of a person that I just don't want to be around or that I don't want to correspond with or that does not have any interest in bringing out the best in other people, I kind of just check out, man. I can't do it. Like it just doesn't work. So, there's very few people that have ever done that to the point where I'm just like, I'm out. I can't do it. And people really idolize certain people that I just can't do that with. And he's kind of one of them. Do you prefer wax potted pickups? I do, because they're less noisy. And it's not just about the feedback, it's about like the microphonicness. So like, hang on. Let me grab one right here. So when you have all these parts put together, so this hasn't been soldered together or anything yet. This is just the pickup by itself. It's the bobbin, everything's bolted together. But when you think about the space, so there could be like microscopic space between the base plate here and this magnet, and between the magnet and the bobbins. And when you tap on this, you will move the screws. Like if the screws and the bobbin and everything can move within the magnetic field, which they will in relation to each other, it just gets really thumpy and clunky. And so that's why sometimes on a guitar without wax potted pickups, you will, maybe it won't be feedbacky, but it'll be like anytime you tap it or move your hands around, or, really, really sensitive to pick scrapes and string movement with your hands and stuff, they just get kind of noisy, which can be managed. And depending on the guitar, it doesn't happen that, but like Les Pauls, I don't think are as bad about it, but like a Tele or like a Strat can be really bad because the whole pickguard moves and stuff. So it just becomes a big drum and it just makes a lot of noise. Les Paul's not so bad because of the way the pickups are mounted and, the way the bridge style is and stuff. But they can kind of just be like that. Yeah. So I do prefer them. Let's see, Adam. I'm thinking about an Enduro in the neck and an 8-ball in the bridge in an old Epiphone Les Paul, mostly punk and indie type rock. I would not use the 8-ball. I would use a DAF for that. The input or the output of those pickups would be too far apart, in my opinion, to be balanced. And for punk rock wise, that 8-ball is too edgy. I would say go with a DAF. And I know that sounds, you might think too low output or whatever, but that's what punk rock folks were using. That's what I would do. Hey Dylan, I'm curious about the late Robbie Robertson's Strat, especially the pickup placement. Would moving the middle pickup next to the bridge make a big difference in sound? Yeah, because it'll make it more like a humbucker, especially if it's in series. It will definitely change it a lot, for sure. Hope the teeth situation is better. I have an HSH Ibanez RG with the dreaded quantums. I want clarity and dynamics and the dull crap versus the dull crap in them. Do you have an HSH combo you would recommend? Absolutely. I would put our Super 8 humbuckers in the ends, and I would put our Hot 5 Strat pickup in the middle. That would be bonkers good in an HSH situation. Why are some single coils not wax potted? Most of them are these days. Most everything is. Unless it's real cheap stuff sometimes. But I would say most of the time, most of your stuff's going to be wax potted now. It's almost like you have to request that it's not. Do you prefer shielding paint or copper tape? Copper tape all day long. Golly, this one gnat, and I cannot catch him, and he's like buzzing by my nose. Do you prefer shielding paint or copper tape for shielding single coil guitars? Have a Project Tele that's a bit noisy. Shield only the back of the pickguard. If it's a Tele, shield only the back of the pickguard, and then take a piece of shielding tape and go over the edge of the body down into the front of the cavity, so that when you screw the control plate down, so here's a control plate for a Tele, and the pickguard wraps around right here, right? So the pickguard is here, wraps around right here. Put a piece of tape that goes underneath here down into the cavity, and when you screw this in, that will make the shielding from, put it on the body going down in, that'll make the shielding from the pickguard continuous with the ground that is in. It's a clean way to ground the pickguard. Do not put any shielding foil in the control cavity of your Tele. You will have problems. Stuff will touch that's not supposed to touch, and it won't do any good. There's a huge misconception that you need to shield every cavity on a guitar, and it's just not true. Wires don't make noise, at least not 6 inches of wires. The pickups are what attract the electromagnetic interference over the air. Okay. 99% of the time, the noise does not come through the mains. as long as your grounds on your pedal board are good and you don't have a ground loop with your pedal board and your amp. Okay. So if we're talking about 1 amp, cable, guitar, the noise comes over the air from anything with a transformer in it. So LED lights, televisions, air conditioners, microwaves, all those kinds of things in your home. Okay. It comes through the air. It is electromagnetic interference coming through the air, being caught by a coil that is an antenna. And then that antenna catches that noise, sends it to the amplifier to be amplified, and that's why you hear the noise. So if you can make an antenna that's bigger, like a satellite dish, more or less, out of your pick guard, that will direct that signal to ground so that less of it goes into your pickups, that's what makes them quieter. Do not shield all around your pickups and all around your wires and stuff. There's no need for it. Faraday cages are stupid in guitars. I'm just going to say it. Faraday cages are stupid in guitars and they don't apply. The wave size of 60 hertz is so big that it just does not matter. Like, we've done tons of videos on this. Just the math doesn't support it. Don't worry about it. Just create as much square inch area as you can with your pickguard shielding and ground it. It has to be grounded, and you have to use foil tape that has conductive glue. Otherwise, the pieces of foil won't talk to each other because it's got to be continuously grounded from one side to the other and then grounded to your pots. So there's a little bunch of tips for you. I was thinking about getting a loaded pickguard to put in an 87 Strat replica. I'm going to build. What pickups would you recommend? Depends what you want to do, Brian. If you want to do a single hum deal, which that's what I would do. Actually, I've got one partially built over here. I mean, 2 classic 5s and a center punch is sick. 2 hot 5s and a Super 8 is my favorite right now. Let's see. My active bass has a notch filter at 850 hertz. Why that frequency? Probably because that's kind of at the bottom of the lower mid-range. And it probably creates a division. If I'm thinking 850, so that's 150 hertz below 1K, which is right in the middle, which is where your electric guitar is. So it probably takes some of the overlap from your rhythm guitar. So if you think of the frequency response of your guitar is, or of your whole band is here, right? And your bass is all the way low. Okay, we're backwards. So let's go this way. So your bass is all the way low. Then your rhythm guitar overlaps with that. And then your lead guitar overlaps with that. And then this overlaps with the drums and cymbals and stuff. And your vocals have to fit in there too. So where your bass guitar overlaps with your rhythm guitar, if you notch out 850, that will make it to where you hear the bass more and you hear the rhythm guitar more because they're each occupying a more defined sonic space and not overlapping so much. That would be my guess. I don't know because I would have to listen to it and kind of flip it on and off and see. But just thinking about the math of that, that's what I think it is. Because 150 would be just below. That'd be like low mids. So yeah. I think that's. And it probably takes maybe a bit of the honk out of a bass too, and focuses it more, and tightens it up. Because if you get too much mid range in a bass, it can be a little honky. It's a bad word for it, but bad descriptive word, but kind of. That's what I could think of, maybe. Um, I have a few guitars that I swap pickups on when I want to experiment. Any plug type solutions to desoldering and soldering it, or is it not worth the time or the money? Yeah, Molex makes some pretty cool little connectors. I've also used the little J connectors that hook RC car batteries together. I've done that before. Um, I've always wanted my band to do a 3-hour tour. I want to know about that emergency radio as well. Oh. Can you please explain the difference between your Strat models, pickup models for Brian? Oh yeah. So our classic fives are real low output. The hot fives are more. Um, the classic fives are in your 6K range or a little bit below that. Um, to give you your more Stevie Ray kind of tone, super low output. And then your higher output stuff just hits the amp a little bit harder. Has a bigger bottom end on it, and still has good mid range. Still sounds super stratty, just more power really. Is where I would go with that. So the transformer noise is the wireless transfer of power being picked up by the coil in the pickups and then converted to sound. That is one way to say it. Kind of. Yep. It's electromagnetic interference. It's through the air. It's Wi-Fi. It's everything, but mostly 60 hertz is what you hear. And everybody thinks 60 hertz hum in their guitar is coming from the mains, but it's, or 50 hertz if you live in a 50 hertz country, but it's not. It's coming from this light right here that has a little transformer in it that makes this LED work. That is a 50 hertz, is running on 60 hertz from the wall. It's the same thing with a television that has the switching power supply, big transformer in it that is emitting electromagnetic interference at 60 hertz, and it's coming through the air. I have a tool around here somewhere. I should do a video about this. I have an electromagnetic interference detector, more or less. You can walk around the room and you can see where it's coming from. Like it's kind of weird. You walk up close to a television, you walk up close to a fluorescent light, you put it next to a speaker, is real bad because it's magnetic. And you can actually see where the electromagnetic interference is coming from. I've had to use it in applications. I used it in a worship application before where we were trying to figure out where wireless microphone interference was coming from. And we figured out that it was coming from someone's hearing aid. But to do that, I had to like walk around with this thing. I didn't tell the person, but I was like walking around discreetly, like trying to detect where electromagnetic interference in the building was coming from. And it was messing with our wireless microphones. And it was because of someone's hearing aid. So this stuff comes through the air. It's so hard for people to believe, but your Wi-Fi works. Ooh, magic. Yeah. When my phone is charging and I pick up my guitar, it makes noise. Exactly. Thoughts on splitting single coil sized rail humbuckers? There's not enough to work with there, in my opinion. You're not a fashion disaster, Matt. I really want to get this dude. He's driving me nuts. Well, anyway. Let's see. Dean's mini connectors. That's what I was trying to think of. Thank you, Rob. Dean's. Let's see. Bell-like single coil. Is there such a thing? I mean, they're not bells. Would the EMI detector work for detecting hidden listening devices bugs, just in case the KGB is still after you? Um, it might actually. Yeah, it might actually work for that. Yeah. Why is it so hard to get reverse audio taper pots for lefty guitars? Because left-handed people don't matter. That's why. I'm left-handed before you get all jacked up and offended. Um yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is we are surrounded by interference. What's really interesting about that is though, a lot of it has to do with the type of power supply and the amplifier that you're using and your effects. So my guitars are way quieter with digital solutions. Tube amps kind of suck for that because of the way they amplify sound. Um, they are noisier. And so they, even if the guitar's quiet, it gets, I don't know why either, to tell you the truth. I don't know if it filters it. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I do know that if I play through 100% tube amp, which I have, and then I play through a digital amp, the digital amp is quieter. Like even the same guitar, like the same noisy pickups, if the pickups are noisy, it's quieter. So there is a definite benefit to that. Hey, Dylan, do you have any recommended reading to get the basics of pickup function? Yeah, we have like 1,100 videos on our YouTube channel. As far as reading goes, there's a book about it, but it's like $800. Um, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so it's interesting. Wireless mics. We had to. I don't know if you have gone through this or not, but in a commercial situation, uh, 600 megahertz UHF microphones are illegal now, per the FCC, because they sold that band to, I don't know if it was T-Mobile specifically, but they split the band lower for low and mid frequency Wi-Fi and cellular data. So where your 600 megahertz microphones used to run, that's no longer. So all those things have moved to 2.4 gigahertz. The good thing about that is that 2.4 gigahertz microphones have a wider frequency band to run in, so they can auto scan and they're a lot cleaner, and it's a digital thing instead of the 600 megahertz thing. But when I remember when that happened, that was about 3 years ago, I think. And there was a bunch of applications where we had to actually change them that I work with, that we had to change them. Oh, this is a good question. Is it possible to use a different ground wiring scheme, no solder mountain, on the volume pot, using a multi-wire connector, for example, and then connecting only the ground wire in the volume? That is a great question because there is so much mythology surrounding star grounding and all this stupid stuff. First of all, you don't need to put a huge mound on the back of the volume pot. If you do it properly, it'll be a pretty tasteful looking thing. You just have to have a hot soldering iron, and then it'll be pretty nice and neat. However, if you wanted to do it differently, yeah, you could put you could put your, you know, your trem claw ground on the back of your tone pot, and you could put the, you know, a couple of pickups on one pot and another one on another pot. You could spread them out. It's no big deal. There's some people that'll go down this whole stupid star grounding thing, and it's supposed to be in the shape of a whatever, I don't know, like Star of David in your guitar. I don't know. I don't know why they think this. And the other thing is, the other reason people go down this whole rabbit hole on grounding stuff, you can put it anywhere you want, because they think there's going to be a ground loop in a guitar, but there is no ground loop in a passive guitar. So if you have a passive guitar instrument, passive guitar without active pickups, it is 100% impossible to have a ground loop in a guitar. The definition of a ground loop is if you have a different ground potential between two separately powered things, you could have a ground loop. Example, if you have a pedal board plugged into the power supply into a wall outlet, and you have your amplifier plugged into another outlet, and they are on two different circuits, and for some reason, like in an old building where they're on common neutrals, for example, there is a very good chance that those could have two different ground potentials within your home, and then when you connect the whole thing with a guitar cable, you have a ground loop, and it will be noisy. Since everything in your guitar is only 3 inches long, and everything terminates in one place, and that is the output jack, it is 100% impossible to have a ground loop in a passive guitar. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it at all. In your Les Paul style with 300K pots with such low output, would it be beneficial to... No, I would leave those. I would leave those. Yep. Yeah, people make way too much difference or too much problem with all this crap. And Javier mentions we're talking about the left-handed pot thing, I assume, that yes, you can wire a set of pots backwards. The problem is that if it's an audio taper, then the audio taper goes the wrong way. So the taper only goes one direction on a pot. You can run the pot backwards, but because it's supposed to be like a little bit adjustable from 10 to 7, and then it really ramps off, then when you flip the pot around and you wire it backwards, the taper will be backwards. So the easiest way to get around that is get a linear pot and run that backwards for a left-handed guitar, which is what we do because we don't have access. Well, I should say, no, I take that back. I think our lefty stuff is actually left-handed taper. Now that I'm thinking about that out loud, I have some separate for left-handed stuff. Let's see. I had a guy tell me that there are no panties dropping if you play too loud. Was that Matt or Jim? I wish I could ground my guitar with my belly. For whatever reason, I find it annoying to have to keep fingers palm on strings or bridge to reduce hum. I mean, you could just run a wire around and like clamp it to an earplug that you stick in your belly button or something. I don't know. That might work. Yeah, you could do that. Are linear pots really that different from tapered pots? Yeah, they are. They are. One's linear and one's tapered, and they do act different. And depending on the setup of the guitar, it really can change how the guitar works. I know Matt's here and he doesn't use knobs. He just turns everything to 10 and leaves it all the time. But for the rest of us who play our whole guitar, um, you know, yeah, it can make a difference for sure. Yep. I don't know why James just gave me 2 question marks by themselves. I'm not really sure. I don't know if I missed something. It's hard for me to do these by myself because I miss stuff. For me, I'd rather adjust the amp settings, change the pickup heights, tilt the pickups, and adjust the pull pieces before buying new pickups. Yeah, I mean that's always the course, right? Like figure out if you can get what figure out what else you can get, what potential you can get out of the guitar before you buy new pickups, before you spend any money. Absolutely 100%. There's certain things that they just can't do, they just won't do. And adjusting amp settings won't get you there. I know people think that, but it won't. Because if the pickup didn't make the sound in the first place, you can't make it make that sound. Which is a really funny thing. A lot of people don't believe that, but I mean, it's physics. It's kind of sciencey stuff and etc. Jimi Hendrix said bad tone can hurt your ears at low levels, but good tone can't get too loud. That's really funny. That's really funny. For the record, I am happy to not include pots and knobs so you can play the whole guitar. Just saying. Well, you don't even use all the frets, Matt. So, but I don't use all the frets either. I mean, really. If it's above the 12th fret, that's not where I live. My fingers can't even fit between the frets down there. I mean, if I can't make a bar chord, I ain't playing. That's all there is to it. If it's not a bar chord with everything on 11, I don't need it. Punk rock, yo. How about getting an EQ pedal before buying new pickups or drive pedals? Because if the pickup doesn't make the sound in the first place, you can't make it make that sound. You can't. You can, without compromising other stuff, you cannot make a frequency be there that wasn't there to begin with. That's just it. If the pickup does not have the frequencies that these 2 sliders are supposed to adjust on the EQ, then when you do that, it won't really do anything except for make more noise. And that's a really elemental way of explaining that. But really, when it comes down to it, if you and the other thing is, in EQ settings won't give you dynamics. EQ settings will not give you because you have to understand, all a pickup does is make voltage. It changes the vibration of a string into voltage, right? At particular frequencies. And it has a resonant peak that it's the best at doing that at. But when it comes to the playing dynamics and being able to hear every note, like for example, if you take a, I don't know, like one of those Dimebag Darrell pickups and you punch a bunch of gain through it and you slam a chord okay, not even that. Let's take just some cheap pickup, like some cheap guitar, like a $400 Schecter. Okay. And you put it on the neck pickup and you, slam a G chord or an E chord, and it all just sounds like all the notes kind of mush together. No matter what you put in front of that amp, that will never, ever be fixed. You cannot change capacitors to make that better. You cannot put an EQ to change that. You cannot do any of that. You take that pickup out and you put one of our Super 8 humbuckers in there, and all of a sudden you slam an E chord or a G chord and you can hear every note. It doesn't mush together. That is pickup design. That's not anything else. Nothing else. You don't even need to use an amp to figure that out. You can just plug it straight DI into a computer and hear it. That it's not that. And we could isolate no pots. We could isolate no cap on the tone, or take, all of that out and completely isolate that down and show you that that is just the pickup. 100% just the pickup. And you cannot EQ dynamics and clarity into a pickup like that. The note definition between the notes, it doesn't come with EQ. It doesn't work. All EQ does is boost and cut frequencies that exist. But if those frequencies don't exist and they're not divided properly and not dynamic enough to be divided properly and boost and cut, then there's nothing you can do with them. It's putting a Band-Aid on a Band-Aid. It doesn't really work. A multi-band parametric EQ can do a lot to tweak the sound of a guitar. Not going to find that in a pedal, but a modeler like my Helix can do that. You're right. But again, it only does what it has. It only can adjust what it already has. If it's not there, it won't do it. I understand what you're saying, because you're right. And everybody that says that you get an EQ, you can do a lot with the sound. You're 100% correct. But it's not a solution. It's not a solution to a problem that doesn't start with that. And I think this is an interesting thing too with guitar players in general. I feel like it's like, I don't know. It's something that bugs me a lot that I think about, that guitar players spend a lot of time trying to fix a problem, A, that isn't even a problem in the first place, or B, trying to fix a problem by not fixing it right by doing something else. So, you hear Matt say it on Texas Toast Guitars a lot of times, that this was a solution in search of a problem. Like, they'll invent the thing to fix something, and the thing in the first place wasn't even a problem. And I feel like guitar players do that. And I think a lot of this stuff gets overthought anyway, because all of your favorite music, I mean, I'm looking at your little things here. I can see the general demographics of my channel, and can tell by the comments that you're making. Most of your guitar heroes, most of them, not to speak blanket, but most of your guitar heroes, of you people that are in the comments right now, wrote their music on crap guitars with crap amps, with crap intonation, and old technology, and noisy everything, and stupid coily cables, and all that stuff. And you like that music just fine. So overthinking all of this stuff is so dumb. Like, just get good pickups in a good playing guitar and play it. End of story. No need to Band-Aid stuff, volume mods, and all this crap. Like, just play the friggin' guitar. Like Matt says, turn it to 10, play all the guitar. I'm not smart enough to say that, to have come up with that, but I do say it a lot. Oh, I know, Matt. I know. But it's good. It's a really good thing to think about. Like, yeah. Before buying new guitars or gear, have the setup and practice playing some jazz, blues, rock. Okay. So, obviously, Bobby G, you're like really into taking the fun out of guitar. I mean, like, sometimes we want to just buy something because it's fun. And I like to buy stuff because it's fun too. I know it doesn't make me better. I don't care. But I just like buying stuff because it's fun. This isn't about saving money. That's the other thing too. Something that I've been thinking about lately too is, why are we trying to save so much money? if you are passionate about a hobby, okay. I know there's people in the comments. I know for sure because I've had conversations with them that are in various hobbies. And you know, for my mountain bike over here, right? I could go get a cheap ass pair of pedals for that thing for like $35, right? Or I could just let it hang there until I save up enough money to get the good pedals that I really want. Or I could save up to get the firearms accessory that I really want, or the knife that I really want, or the kitchen knife that I really want, because it's a hobby and it's a thing I really want and I really enjoy and I really love. But for some reason, we get to guitars and it's like, does anybody know the cheapest way to make me sound like the richest guitar player on the planet? No, I don't. It's not possible. I don't understand why that is a thing. I don't understand we have to be so cheap. I understand economics, but I also understand self-discipline and savings. So I don't know. I don't get it. Hobbies are expensive. They are. I want to spend more money, but apparently my daughter wants to go to college. See, you live in Japan. So, Shane, that is a whole different culture over there. I totally get that. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. My daughter decided she didn't want to go to college. So, thank goodness. Almost everyone gets mad at the bands they loved after that band gets more produced as they go from album to album. You know why that is? It's because there's this psychological thing that makes us attached to a few things in life. One, the first thing we hear of something or do of something. So, your first gun, your first guitar, your first pocket knife, your first car, your first bicycle, your first, not first wife, not first wife. You know, you get like sentimentally attached to those firsts, right? And then reference other things off of those. That's a human trait that we do that with. So, and then there's also this whole thing about you have a particular affinity for music and television and movies in a particular range in your life. And I think it's up to about 20 years old. And then after that, nothing really matters for most people, unless they actually go out of their way to continue to improve themselves by learning new things. They'll just default back to, I have a mullet and an IROC Z, and I am okay with listening to Stryper on the weekends, and I have a BC Rich Warlock, and there's no better guitar, and that's it. So, you could default to that, or you could be like, oh, it's 2023. I wonder what actual cool things really do exist in my lifetime. So it's kind of a mindset thing, but it is a human nature that we do that, right? So I understand why it happens. I just don't subscribe to that. I'm like, if there's a new thing that I want to learn about, I want to learn about it. And it's not because I have to have the latest new thing all the time. I actually have been buying some old things because I think they're cool. But also, it's fine to learn stuff. And also, if you pay attention to what's going on in the world, then you don't get all bent out of shape because you bought a guitar for $200 in 1965 and now they're 3,000. Something I've noticed while observing guitar culture lately is that the younger the person is, the less they complain about how much something costs. So if I tell you, this mountain bike, well, not this one, but a good mountain bike's $3,500 or $4,000. Okay. A good guitar is $2,500. A really good pistol is pushing $1,000 now. And you're going to be like, that's so expensive. I remember when. Well, that's because you have lived through inflation yourself as well as your dollar, and your kids have not. Your kids have lived here when it's been expensive, and they don't know the difference. So they just pay it. They just do it. Doesn't matter. But you've lived through inflation. And my 23-year-old daughter has not. She knows that it costs $1,000 for a phone. That's how much it costs. So guess what? She doesn't drop it because she knows it costs $1,000. So, it's just a perspective on life. So there you go. Comparison is the thief of joy. Exactly, Joy. Wait. Comparison is the thief of joy. Joy. Sorry. Anyway. They don't have a frame of reference yet. But you know what? Young people are smart and they will start to figure out. And maybe they will complain just like old fogies do now when they get old. But I feel like that's changing too. So, it's very cool. All right, you guys. I am out of here. It's 3:00. We usually go for about an hour on Tuesdays, and I've got to go to another tooth doctor's appointment. And we will see you all on Wednesday.